Don, you've been rolling around at the speed of sound with Once Upon a Katamari, and I have a bunch of questions to ask you about this game because it's finally come out, or it's finally came out, and you've been playing a ton of it. So let me get your thoughts. What do you think of it so far?
It's a good game, with the caveat I wouldn't recommend this per se on Nintendo Switch. Or Nintendo Switch 2 for that matter.
Let's start with that, right? Like, because it's coming out for Xbox, PlayStation 5, PC, but no Switch 2, just Switch 1, right? Like, there's no upgrade path or anything. It's just the standard Switch 1 version.
Correct. In some cases, like, games get optimized randomly for Switch 2. This is not one of those instances. And I'm not sure if this happens in the Xbox or PlayStation's versions or not. But usually, Katamari missions have like this open area where you roll the ball, collect all the junk that you can get and get bigger as you go along, and there's certain objectives that are tied to that. If you meet certain thresholds, it opens up a new area of the map.
Gotcha.
I've noticed in some of the bigger areas, two things happen. One, most importantly, on Nintendo Switch, and once again, not sure about other platforms, a random load screen pops up for a second and a half. The King of All Cosmos comes in with a random load screen, which interrupts entire flow of gameplay.
And it's not like, are you going into like a different location? Like, how does the transition happen? Or does you just move into the next location?
It feels extremely abrupt.
Okay.
Because you're still in the same location you were once you meet the threshold, but for some reason there's just an overlay of the King of All Cosmos, and he's like, hold up, we need to load, and then it continues onward.
At least they're somewhat aware of it, right? That this game isn't, I guess, fully optimized for Switch 1, or it should have like at least a Switch 2 version.
Yeah, the thing is though, like the graphics themselves don't seem to mend. They're very blocky in design, and they are blocky for a reason, because that's the inherent DNA of Katamari. Yeah. But I'm not sure why it's interrupted like that. And then furthermore, once you are in a really big area and the ball has a very high objective, for some reason everything in the level starts to pop in for a second. And it happens very infrequently. It cannot happen in a level at all, but there were a few moments where this randomly happened.
And is it pop-ins for stuff like out in the distance, or is it stuff that you're trying to pick up? Like, does it really...
Even stuff that's directly next to you.
Oh, so like something like that is kind of going to affect the long term of the gameplay too, right? Like, because you're constantly going, you constantly want to pick up stuff, but if it's constantly popping in and out, it's like, wait a minute, is that thing really there, or is it? Am I picking it up? So that, again, more, I guess, hindrance to the gameplay.
But that doesn't happen as much.
Okay.
I'll say that. What does happen as much, if you press two buttons at the same time, you can obviously immediately move the camera backward to the other side and move the prince to the other side of the ball. That's also when it pops in for a quick second. So everything it loads everything in front of you, but everything in the back of you is unloaded.
Gotcha.
Which is a bit annoying, and it sort of disrupts the flow of the gameplay, which is a shame, because I think the game itself is actually pretty good. It has a good variety of objectives. Honestly, like, you make the ball as big as possible. You have a certain amount of time to make the ball to a certain size. There's also a really fun mission in the Agent Japan level where you roll out a person and you have to make them as fat as possible to fit in a samurai suit. So the objectives, like, themselves are really, really fun. I think the levels themselves are really well clever put together. I'm still had a good time with it, you know? But would I recommend playing it specifically on Switch 1? I don't think so.
And just to be clear, like, we haven't played it on any other platform, right?
No.
Like, we haven't played it on any other platform, so we don't know how it runs on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S or even PC. But from what I can tell, Don, like, it's probably going to run better on those platforms.
For sure. There's also one thing I do want to mention specifically is that I always found the controls in Katamari sometimes a bit hard to handle, because you had to move two sticks at the same time to move forward. They actually introduced, and I think this was also in a few of the previous games, where you can just use one stick, a simple gameplay mode is what it's called, where just move the left stick to control yourself, and the right stick move the prince around the ball so you can position yourself better. And I actually think that helps for me to elevate the gameplay a little bit, because it feels like I can be a bit more precise in my movements across the stages.
That's good to hear. It sounds like the other controls or the previous ones is kind of like what, patting your helmet or patting your stomach and like rubbing your head, or rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time. It seems like you're focused on two different things, but with the simple controls, it seems like it makes it a lot more straightforward and kind of streamlined.
But I also think is really cool is that they've introduced a lot more collectibles in the game. So every stage has 2 types of collectibles. So there are crowns, 3 crowns across every single stage, even the variations for the different objectives. Those unlock like new stages or new areas for you to unlock, and I think about 8 of them. So, for example, Jurassic, Edo Japan, Wild Western is another one. So by collecting crowns, you unlock the new areas or the new stages. And then there's also king tokens, which you get for finishing a stage, which nets you new collectibles. So mostly like expressions, costumes, like little trinkets to add to your specific version of the prince, because you can remove the prince and make your own little prince version and put yourself in the game, and also give it another name entirely. So I put myself with my name into it, and then the King of El Cosmos just mentions you by name directly from that point onward, which feels inherently creepy because he looks very much down on you, especially if you don't meet objectives all too well. So it feels like now he's just directly addressing you, the player, which makes it very, very funny.
And does that happen like throughout the gameplay, or does that happen between cutscenes? When's he talking to you?
So there's always a scene before the level starts and after the level starts.
Gotcha.
So he always talks to you like instantly, also for the stages, a little bit, but mostly before and after.
Gotcha.
So that's really fun. There's even a multiplayer mode now, which also works online, where you have 4 people running around. It's called Katamari Ball, where you try to collect the most junk, bring it back to the spaceship, get points for it, and continue the process.
And is that cooperative, or are you actually competing against other players?
It's actually versus against one another.
Nice.
And throughout the single-player campaign, there's actually moments where you fight CPUs. So you actually get to try it out a little bit before you actually go like pro with it. And I think it's really funny. I think it's just really a good time. So, all in all, I think the game is really good. I just don't think I would necessarily recommend to play it here.
To play it on Switch. So I don't think we covered like the performance for it, at least in the way of the resolution and the frame rate. What is it like on Switch 1? Is it jumping all over the place? Is it at least steady in some places, or nothing really that consistent?
I think across the levels is good. Like, I already mentioned the pop-in issues, but across the levels, like, performance-wise, it's fine.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Overworld maps run at a really low frame rate.
Okay.
I think that's a little weird. I'm not sure how to place that. Like, the levels despite its issues, seem well optimized. But moving across, like, the different stages through the Overworld seems a bit sluggish.
And how often are you doing that? How often are you going through the Overworld to switch?
Oh, a lot.
So you notice it more than once. It's not like, oh, I'm picking a stage, moving on to the next stage. It's like, no, you're here pretty often.
Yeah, and you can obviously still choose them also from a list, but you always result automatically back to the world map. So before choosing a stage from the list, you still would go to the world map. So you still notice it very much so. But it's interesting because, once again, despite its issues, the stages in itself run completely fine. But then the overall just feels really unoptimized for some reason.
Yeah.
And I cannot put my finger on that why that is.
Hopefully later down the line they come out with like a Switch 2 version, or they better optimize it for Switch 1. Because I know in the case of Sega with Sonic Racing Crossworlds, you can play Sonic Racing Crossworlds, the Switch 1 version, on your Switch 2, but later down the line they're going to have a Switch 2 version with that. So hopefully they think about something, or they be like, hey, like, let's make a Switch 2 version for this game. Because I know they did it with, what's it called? We were talking about it before with Pac-Man World 2.
Pac-Man World 2 repack.
Yeah, and then they didn't do it for, what is it, Everybody's Golf?
Yeah, Everybody's Golf was also a weird situation where it was a Switch 1 game that was running locked 30, And then they randomly decided to do a patch which unlocked the frame rate, so it ran better on Switch 2, like close to 60 frames per second actually. Wow. But then it ran worse on Switch 1.
So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they don't make it better for Switch 2, or they make a version that's optimized for Switch 2, and the Switch 1 version that somehow just gets worse. I don't want that to be the case.
No, for sure. I will say also, and this is completely unrelated, I think one of the best things in this game is the soundtrack.
I was going to say, like, that's the thing I know Katamari for. I know so many Katamari remixes. When I hear it, it's got such a unique sound. It's got such a cool jingle to it. Like, I'm like, oh, I got to hear about the music. So what do you think overall?
So, if you buy the special edition, which is the version we got for review, it unlocks 60 songs from the past Katamari games.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Katamari on the Rocks is in there, for everybody wondering. If you play the level for the first time, you lock to hearing a new song in the game, which are also still really good, actually. But then, if you go back to a stage, you can actually choose your favorite song, and it will keep playing that one until you choose a different one.
That's awesome. I love when games give you the options to actually pick a song before you go into a match or before you go into a level or whatever, because I do that all the time. Again, going back to Sonic, I do it all the time with Shadow Generations. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to play this level, but I want to pick this song. I want to pick this song. So it's great to hear that the original soundtrack for this game is amazing, but on top of that, if you get, the deluxe version, you get additional songs on top of that.
Yes. And that's also, like, Katamari is an up-tempo game. Like, you move the ball around at such a quick pace.
Yeah.
And I tried to take my time a bit more in some of the levels, which, hey, the king was not very happy about. I was trying to take more time with it and be very methodical about what I picked up, but the king was not a happy camper about that. He was not about that life.
He's like,
your Katamaris are so small. Yeah, Katamaris are so small. What are you doing? I'm like, but that's how I want to play the game. Yeah. But regardless, it's an up-tempo game, right? So you need to have like music that sort of engages you with what you're doing, and I think that flow of gameplay and music is what really drives Once Upon a Katamari really forward in like a really good way. Once again, I do think you should play it on a different platform, though.
I mean, if that's the case, like if the only thing really bogging this game down is the performance on the Switch 1, then that's great to hear that it's like, hey, if you guys really want to check it out, go play it on PlayStation or PC or Xbox. Like, there are probably other ways to play this that run this game much, much better than on Switch.
I also think I shouldn't talk about the story too much because it's fun to experience. The story about it is actually really funny. So, the King of all Cosmos, in infinite wisdom, does a cleaning session and finds an Agent Scroll. That Agent Scroll flies up into space, and it destroys everything in its path. It crushes the Earth. The moon gets flown into it, and you basically have to go across time to save everything in its memories.
That's so funny, and that's what gets the ball rolling for the actual game, right? And then you just jump right into it.
And there's even little scenes in the different areas with the king and queen who just walk around and try to explore the surroundings a little bit, so even them get a little bit on the action, which is really funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, so I guess final impressions of the game overall?
Once again, I think as a game, it's really well made. I think it's one of the better ones in recent memory. I think I enjoyed a lot of them. The last few that they released were releases. There was the one for Apple Arcade that was in between them, which I didn't hit the nail of what I really like about Katamari. This seems to hit more home, and that's the newest game they've made. Like, it's only the 7th game in the series, and they've only been pushing like remakes out of the door as of late, with the original Katamari Damacy and We Love Katamari. So having a new one feels good, and I'm glad that actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's actually like a really well-made game. In broad strokes, it still does its job decently on Switch 1. I just don't think it should be the place where you check this out.
And not to mention, I mean, the price for the game too is fairly on the lower end, right? Like, it's not a $60 or $70 game. I think it's like $30 for the regular edition and maybe $40 for the deluxe edition.
Something like that. It might be a 10 or higher either way, but I think roughly about that ballpark seems right.
Yeah, so Don, I think that's going to do it for our review of Once Upon a Katamari. I think we mostly covered everything we needed to. We went through the music, how it runs on Switch, just the overall flow of the game, and it sounds awesome because I'm a new Katamari player. So if I'm going to jump into one, I mean, this is probably one of the ones that I should jump into. Not on Switch, unless they make a Switch 2 version. I should jump on PlayStation or on my Steam Deck or PC or something.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Don, where could everyone find you?
You can find me at Nintendo, which is NANTNDAAN.
And I'm Steftendo, that's STEFTNDO. Go check it out. Thanks for checking out our review of Once Upon a Katamari. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.